we will take the powder sample, you synthesize any nanomaterial, okay? And after that, what you do is that you take this motor and twister, okay? And you pour the sample in motor, okay? And after that, you brush it, okay? So ultimately, you will get fine powders, okay? So when you get the fine powders, what we will do is that we will do the sample preparation with the help of this. So for this, we will take the sample holder, okay? So this sample holder generally contains, it may contain thin film or powder. So in order to hold this sample in the powder form, we will make its place, okay? So we will take this small glass slide, okay? So this glass slide, what we will do is that we will attach over here, okay? So why we will attach? To keep the powder sample, okay? For that we need tape. So this is the tape. So now here we have the tape, okay? You can directly place the sample in this tape also, okay? But the drawback is that the sample may get stick over here, okay? So in order to avoid this sticking, we will place this glass slide, okay? Small. Is it clear? Just place this properly. After this, what we will do is that we will place the powder sample. So this is the powder sample. And the spreading of the sample should be uniform, okay? So we spread this nanomaterial in a uniform manner. This is already nanomaterial? Yeah, it is a nanomaterial.
This is graphene or graphene oxide?
This is most probably carbon compounds. Its size is between 1 to 10 nanometer. Okay. So this is a nanomaterial, okay, and we will perform this XRD, okay. So in order to perform the XRD, we will go to the XRD machine, okay. We will place it in the sample holder, and we will run it according to our requirement, okay. For example, we will run from 10 to 80 degrees, okay, and the scan rate will be around 4. Is it clear? So scan rate basically means at what resolution the angle will split, okay. For example, when you perform XRD, like the smaller the step size, scan rate basically tells us about the step size. So the smaller the step size, the better peak you can observe. The minimum step size for this instrument is 0.02. And for this we will put 0.04. The smaller the scan rate, the higher the time it will take. So if you put 4 scan rate, right, the time taken will be almost 1 hour. So we will take just we can optimize this scan rate. It all depends upon the peak, okay. So and also this angle depends upon the whether your material is 2D crystalline or 3D crystalline. You can just follow the literature and we can keep it accordingly. For any graphene oxide, we go from 5 to 80. For non-graphene materials or non-magazine materials, we go from 10 to 80 degree. Is it clear? So we'll place the sample over there, okay? And we'll observe the XRD. You can clearly see the machine, right? The instrument is on and you can see the distinct peaks over there, right? So similar peak you might obtain, okay? So every material has a definite peaks, okay? And those peaks we can observe it through the instrument, okay? So there I will explain later, okay? We'll place the sample now. Just come, okay?
अरे इसको ऐसे ऐसे ही ले लेना। हाँ?
So this is the sample holder, okay? Just see over here. This is
2 मिनट सब एक काम करिए साइड में हो जाइए कि जगह रिकॉर्ड करने के लिए
this is a XRD machine,
थोड़ा
okay?
साइड हो गया
Just see over here. This is an XRD machine. This is Rikaku, okay? Uniflex 2. So this is a sample holder, okay? So we will place the sample over here. It should be placed at the center, okay? We have placed the nanomaterial at the center, okay? And this is an X-ray tube, okay? X-ray generating source. And here is a sample holder, and we have placed the sample, and here is the detector. So rays of light will come from this side, fall on the sample, and it will be detected by the detector. Okay, and this sample will be converted into raw data, and you will get the raw data. Okay, so is it clear up to here? So in order to run this XRD machine, we need high generating voltage is required. Okay, so in order to keep it cool, here is the chiller. Okay, so you must see the operating range for chiller. The operating range for chiller is between below 22 degrees Celsius. Okay, so it should always lie between 22 or 23 degrees Celsius. It can be calibrated. Okay, so all the cool air, it will go from this tube. Okay, and the circle will continue. Is it clear? So now we will switch on the instrument. Okay, so this is a on off. Okay, and this is for also to on the instrument. So now the instrument is on. Now we will give the command. Okay, in order to operate this instrument, we need a software called Rigago. Okay, so the instrument name is Rigago, right? So we have the software called Rigago. So we will go to the right measurement. Okay, so from right measurement, you will go to the standard measurement. Okay, from standard measurement, this will connect to the instrument, and it will tell us whether we should run the experiment or not. Okay, so until and unless the temperature of the chiller is below 23 degrees Celsius, this instrument is not going to work. Okay, so what is the temperature right now? Just see the temperature. 21. So it is safe to operate. Okay, so here you can give the specifications. For example, so you can write INC.
Below 21 it will not work.
No, below it will work up to 18. Okay, 18 to 23 degrees Celsius it will work. So just write any what you want to write. Sample. Okay, just write. Okay, this is a sample. Okay, so we are writing just the name sample. So you need the address bar, right? So this is the address bar. The data that will be taken, okay, from this instrument, it will be saved in this folder. Okay, this is the address bar. The sample will be saved over here. So you write any sample. Okay, so you write any. Okay, CD. Okay, we are writing CD, carbon quantum dots. We are writing this CD. So initially X-ray is off, right? So we'll just keep the X-ray off. We'll write the initial position. So now we have to set the angle. Okay, so here start angle is 3 and ending angle is 90. So it is irrelevant. What we will do is that we will just keep from 10 to 80. Okay, 10 to 80. And scan it. Okay, somebody was asking about the scan it. So the higher the scan it, the faster it will take the data. Okay, but since it will take faster data, your noise will be very much. Okay, so what we will do is that we will keep the minimum scan rate. For example, we will keep 4, and this is used. Okay, and then we will just execute. So we have given the command. Okay, to execute the experiment. So once the X-ray starts working, we will see the red light glowing over there. Okay, so when this red light is on, then we can say that the X-ray is operating. Okay, let's see. Red light is on, right? X-ray is on. So here we are getting the data. Okay, so once you get the data, what you are supposed to do? Yeah, we will get the raw data. Okay, so the instrument will give us the raw data, and this raw data we will convert it into editable file. Okay, using the PowderDell software. So when we use raw data, we'll convert it using PowderDell software, and we can plot it in Origin. Okay, so you can directly plot it in Origin, and you will get the crystal nature. So in order to further study the crystal nature of the nanomaterial, what you will do is that you can do Rietveld refinement, right? You must have gone through the lecture, right? In Rietveld refinement, you can analyze the entire crystal structure, and whatever crystal structure, if you want to visualize it, you can draw it in Vista software. So after doing readfield refinement, you will get CIF file, and that CIF file can be directly drawn in the Vista software. So Vista software will give you the entire pictorial representation of your nanomaterial. Is it clear up to here? So this is the basic that we will be doing over here. Okay. Any question up to here? Anyone?
तो ये जो डाटा देता है वो बिल्कुल रॉ रहेगा,
Yes, raw data.
उसके बाद जो पेपर वगैरह में डालते हैं तो वो डाटा जो है उसके सॉफ्टवेयर के बाद जो
Raw data we will convert and we will give it to you. So raw data हम लोग क्या करेंगे, .asc फाइल में कन्वर्ट कर देंगे and even .xy में एक्सेल फॉर्म में भी कन्वर्ट कर देंगे. Okay, so we'll send you the data and you can easily plot in Origin. कौन सा सॉफ्टवेयर यूज़ करते हैं आप?
नहीं अभी तो नहीं यूज़ करें.
Okay, okay, you can do it in Origin. Okay, Expert High Score software have you?
origin पे plot करते हैं.
Yeah, you can do it in Origin, you can do it in Expert High Score, you can do it in Math software, you can draw in full proof software. Okay, any software can be used. Okay, not restricted to Origin only. So you will get your data, okay, and you can analyze it. So this is basically Pixar. Any question up to here? Anyone? Crystallinity index is basic. Okay. She has asked how to find the crystallinity index. Okay. So in order to find the crystallinity index, you must know the amorphous nature, right? Yeah. So basically, what we will do is that how much crystallinity is there and how much amorphous is there, right? We will just subtract it and we'll calculate divided by total number of crystallinity plus amorphous nature. So that can be easily find out with the help of formula. If you want to find the crystallinity nature, that means crystallinity upon divided by crystallinity plus amorphous nature into 100%. In that way, you can easily find out the crystallinity nature. Yeah. So that is Mailer indices. Yeah. So Mailer indices you can find it used by using Redfield refinement. Using the Redfield refinement, you can get the entire Mailer indices as well as crystal structure also. Okay. So Mailer indices can be easily find out. And if you don't know anything, that you can directly go through the literature also. COD database. Do you know the COD database? Crystallography Open Database. It is the free software. You can just Google it. You will get it over there. So from there also you can find the Mailer indices.
Sir, how can we get the JCPDS number?
Yes. So JCPDS number you can directly find from COD file.
COD.
So just type in Google COD database. Okay. So there you will get the directory. Okay. And in that directory, for example, you want to find zinc oxide. So they will ask you the elements. So just write zinc, comma, then oxygen. So the moment you enter it, entire all the structure you will get it. So they will write zinc oxide, hexagonal, oxide, different structure, and there on the side there will be download option. So just download that file. You will get entire. You will get the space group. You will get the Mailer indices, and all sort of parameters like ABC parameters. Okay, whether it is orthorhombic or cubic, hexagonal, oxide, any structure you can find it out. Okay, so COD database is open database. It is absolutely free and you can get it. Okay. Any question? So this will continue. This will take almost half an hour. Okay. By the time you can visit our center, we have other instrument as well. Okay. So that will be helpful to you.
Sir,
So if you
so can you tell how you will calculate the particle size using XRD?
okay. So normally she's asking a very good question. Okay. So she is telling us to how to calculate the crystallite size. Okay.
Particle size.
No. In case of TEM analysis, we find the particle size.
TEM
Okay. With XRD, we find crystallite size. Okay. Because you know D, Bragg's law, right? 2D sine theta equals to what? N lambda. Okay, right? So N must be 1, 2, 3 integer multiples, right? So when Bragg's law is fully satisfied, we get a diffraction pattern, right? So when you get a diffraction pattern, so in order to find the crystallite size, we use the equation D equals to K lambda upon beta cos theta. So here the way, yeah, Scherer equation. So basically D is telling you the crystallite size. The limitation of this instrument is that we can calculate the crystallite size, okay, up to 200 nanometer only. Beyond that we cannot find the crystallite size. Okay. So here K lambda, K is a constant. Normally we take K to be 0.9 or 0.94. Lambda wavelength is fixed 1.54 Armstrong. Okay, and copper source is being used. upon b cos theta, right? Beta is what? Beta is generally the full width at a half maximum. So you can take beta. So this spacing is beta. Okay. So you can correct this data. Okay. If data is not coming properly, okay, you can always normalize the data and you get the corrected data. Okay. So baseline correction, you do it and you will get the data. So once you get the baseline data, you can just use this structure for calculating the crystallite size. So beta you will get it from here, and cos theta is from this side, right? So you already know the theta. So just put the value, you will get the crystallite size.
जो एंगल आपने सेट किया था वो कौन सा एंगल देगा इसमें?
ये angles
0 से 80 के बीच
no,
में?
we can set according to our requirement. Okay. Either we can set it from 0 to 80, you can set from 10 to 80. So it depending upon the sample nature. Okay. It all depends upon your choice. For example, zinc oxide, right? For zinc oxide, the most common element, we can take directly from 20 to 80 degree, because before 20 we won't get any peak. So what is the need of running from 0, isn't it? So we already go through the literature that where we are getting the peak, and we accordingly we keep the 2 theta. Okay.
What will happen if we increase the scan rate?
If we increase the scan rate, so instead of being in half an hour, it can be done in 15 minutes. Okay. But the thing is that there will be increase in size, right? So there will be more noise. So noise will increase, but your time will decrease. So the lesser the scan rate, the more beautiful data you will get it. Is it clear? Any question from anyone?
Sir, why do we need to perform XPS when we have the XRD?
Okay, good question. Okay, the thing is that for XRD we find the crystallite size. Okay, in case of XPS we find the oxidation state. Right. From this you cannot know we cannot know which element we are getting. Right. For example, gold and silver are giving us the same XRD peak. So
We
how
are
will
only getting the nature, whether it is
Yeah,
crystalline or not.
whether it is crystalline or not, okay, that only we know. Even if you know if it's crystalline, for example, gold and silver have the same XRD peaks, right? So
It's
how?
not characteristic.
Hmm?
It's not characteristic of any material.
It is characteristic.
No, it is a characteristics of a material, right? But there are some exemption, right? Exemption like gold and silver are having the same XRD peaks, right? Same place. So how will you know that? Whether for that we'll perform XPS, right? And with the help of XPS, we'll study the binding energy. Every element has a definite binding energy. What is the binding energy for carbon? 284.4, right? Electron volt, isn't it? So with the help of, and for oxygen, how much you have got the binding energy? 531.3, isn't it? So similarly, different elements have different binding energy. But here you will get a similar peak in between 10 to 80 or 0 to 80 or 90 degree. So you'll get. So this is the entirely different characteristics that we are studying about crystallinity, and that XPS is for telling us about the oxidation states and binding energy. So that is the more convenient in order to, if you want to determine the elemental composition. And even through same, you must have gone through USEF, right? Or you might be going. So there you will perform EDAX, right? From there also you can know the elemental composition. Is it clear? So any question if you want to ask?
सब डिफरेंट जैसे इधर आपका FTIR लगा हुआ है तो डिफरेंट टेक्निक का क्यों जरूरत पड़ता है?
Because with the help of one single instrument we cannot characterize the material fully, right? For example, this will tell us about the crystallinity of the material, crystallite size, okay? It will tell us about the structure, it will tell us about the planes, okay? But in case of FTIR, we will go through the functional groups. So whether it is metal oxide bond, right? For metal oxide, if the bond lies between 400 to 800, we'll get the metal oxide bond, isn't it? And OH group lies at 3400. So different functional groups can be determined using the FTIR. We cannot determine with the help of XRD. This is entirely a different characteristics.
So these peaks are of noise.
Yes, some are of noise and some are of material. So every material has a different own characteristics peaks. So these are basically the fingerprint. Okay, why is there such kind of peaks? Can anybody tell? Actually, what is happening is there alignment of the atoms. Okay, in this case, why one peak is more intense in comparison to other? You can ask this question, right? This peak is more intense in comparison to other because the alignment of atoms in this plane is more, and this alignment of plane atoms will always be there for this specific material. Is it clear? For amorphous material, it will be in this line, right? So always you'll find the broad peak over here, around 20. Okay. So you can ask if you have more questions or anything.
So this material is amorphous.
Yeah, this is amorphous crystalline mixture. Okay. You will get this data, don't worry. Okay, we'll send this data.
डाटा लेने के बाद उसको एनालाइज करते हैं तो उसको कैसे करते हैं जैसे उसमें
You can analyze using the software like Origin. Okay, you can use Origin or any other software. Any questions? So you all want to see other instrument as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's come. So this is impedance analyzer, okay? This impedance analyzer will tell us about the electrical properties of the nanomaterial, okay? So we studied the dielectric properties. Do you know what are dielectrics? Dielectric insulating materials, isn't it? Metal oxide. So this tells us about the dielectric materials. We can tell us how much energy is being dissipated or how much energy can be stored, okay? So this is it. And the next instrument that we will see is the FTIR. As sir has asked how to determine the functional groups, right? So in order to determine the functional groups, we use the FTIR instrument, okay? So this is FTIR. And this is here, this is for making the pellets. Here you are using the powder sample, right? In case of FTIR, you will be making the powder pellets. So small pellets, we put it over there and we just run the sample. Even in order to study the dielectric, we make the pellets, okay? So just by studying, but just if you have powder, you cannot study through powder. You need the pellet in order to study FTIR and this dielectric.
So what is the difference between FTIR and IR? What is the difference between FTIR and IR?
Okay, so what you want to do first, you should tell me, right? You need to identify whether you want to identify the functional bonds, okay? If you have any other idea, okay? In order to determine the functional bonds, okay, you always do FTI or IR. So in fact, you won't find any difference in performance. Okay? It depends upon your requirement, what you want to find it. So why you want to do FTI or IR?
Functional group.
Yeah, functional group you
For
can
the
go.
detection of the functional group.
You can go for FTI. FTI is more advanced version. Okay. So previously what it was is that they used to keep the sample and used to remove it, right? But here what is that you are already doing the background correction. So you are already doing the background correction, so you just keep the sample and you will get it. Here you are using the KBR. KBR you are using as a non-absorbing material. Okay. And so in KBR, what you use that? Use the nanomaterial. So initially what is happening in FTIR, you are using KBR, you took the background correction, and in the second time again you are adding KBR plus nanomaterial. So we are getting the bonds, right? So KBR plus sample minus KBR, you are getting the functional bonds of only sample. Is it clear? KBR is generally a sample non-absorbing material. It is non-hygroscopic in nature because atmospheric oxygen can easily attach to other material. That is the use potassium bromide. If you don't have powder form, then you can do in liquid also. Yeah, liquid also can be done. Or
If we have a how
film, okay, you can take out the powder. We have lyophilizer. We have an instrument called lyophilizer, okay? And with the help of lyophilizer, you can convert liquid sample to powder sample. Okay, so basically liquid sample can be directly converted to powder and you can perform any experiment. Okay, like you can do the powder. Okay, I'll show you the UV and PL, okay? No. This is FTIR, this is impedance spectroscopy.
and I just want to interview this question. I will ask him to charge double. Is this
instrument tool, okay? This is your PL, okay? Okay, this is your PL, okay? So from this we study the fluorescence nature of the nanomaterial, okay? And from this is UV spectroscopy, okay? So you see the absorption spectra of the nanomaterial, okay? So at what wavelength the nanomaterial absorbs the light, we study with the help of this. And with the help of this, we can also find the band gap of the nanomaterial. Is it clear? And this is the contact angle. This instrument is contact angle. This is your contact angle. You can see this instrument. So here we keep the liquid, okay? Here we keep the liquid and just find whether it is hygroscopic or not, okay? Hydrophobic or any nature it can tell us, okay? And this is DMA. This entire set is dynamic mechanical analyzer. This tells us about the mechanical properties of the nanomaterial, okay? So we all do study the mechanical properties, okay? So let's go back, okay? So everyone wants to see life laser, right?
Yes, sir.
Ball mill, yes. This is ball mill, okay? This is ball mill, okay? So here I keep the sample, okay, bulk sample, and we keep inside and grind in the express, okay? We set the time limit 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, and from bulk to nano range we try to reach, okay? What is it? It's this, huh? Ball milling. Huh? Planet. So you have balls, okay? Metal balls. ये bulk से nano में लेके जाना होगा, right? Top down. This is centrifuge, okay? This is used for washing. Centrifuge. So it can do rotations 5,000, 7,000. Thermogravimetric analyzer, and that is DSC, differential scanning calorimetry. We'll study the heating properties using these instruments, okay? And this is a CV, okay, cyclic voltammetry. We can study the CV, okay? How much the capacitance of the nanomaterial is, we can use this, okay? Is it clear? Okay, we'll move that side.
The pressure handle.
Yes, you see the pressure. Nitrogen gas use होता है, nitrogen gas, so in order to control it.
सर ये सब टेक्निक के बारे में कोई एक बुक है क्या?
बाद में क्या होगा? अलग से आ रही हो तुम?
देखो कितना अच्छा डिपार्टमेंट है।
गेट करके जा रहा था। एक हम लोगों ने भी हायर कर रहे हैं।
So this instrument is called life laser, okay? If you have a liquid sample, okay? So how will you convert it into powder form? This instrument will do for you, okay? So if you have a liquid sample, okay? So if you put liquid sample over here, so after a certain time interval, it will convert that liquid sample into the powder form, okay? So by using the powder form, you can perform the XRD. Because in order to perform XRD, what you need? Powder samples, right? So if you have any sample in liquid form, you just bring it over here, we'll keep it over here, and after certain time period, it will convert into powder form. Is it clear? Cost sadness. waffle form is also isotone. So,
आराम से आना भाई, स्लिप भी हो रहा है।
bacteria fungus is being studied in this lab. Okay, this is laminar. So if you want to perform antifungal activity, antibacterial activity, it can be studied using this setup. Is it clear? Yes. Just simply you sit over here, right?
इसके अंदर ले
Then you can do it, right? The fungus here, right? This is the fungus, isn't it? So you can just do antifungal, antibacterial. So you can do it. So before that, you just need to on the light so that none of the bacteria, virus enters in this environment. Okay?
जैसे अमोनिया का चैप्टर
Normally when you walk in this, you keep the switch off.
जैसे हम अमोनिया
ensure whether our synthesized materials are in the nanoform or not. And there is a direct method. This is just like a photograph. Other methods can give the information about we have nano materials, but that information is the indirect link. But the TM will direct evident that our materials are in the nanoform because it directly gives the photograph of the particles of the material. So the first step, how we can perform this experiment, there are some limitations. What are that limitations? Which type of the sample we can perform for this measurement? The first limitation is that the sample size should be very, very small. How much small? Not more than 3 millimeter in diameter. Kitna? 3 millimeter in diameter. If we have solid sample. And the thickness should be of the order of 100 to 200 nanometer. So if we have this size sample, then we can perform the experiment. For solid sample. But if we have powdered form of the sample, then it is very easy to perform because there is no such conditions in that powder form of the sample. What we have to do in that case, if we have powder sample, what are the different form of the material? Starting from we have the crystalline form and we have the amorphous form. Crystalline form are of two types. One is called the single crystalline, other is called polycrystalline. And most of the material we generally prepare in your research or in your lab are in the polycrystalline. Some of the scientists or some of the students might be working on the single crystalline, but most of the research are going on the polycrystalline nature of the material. What is the polycrystalline nature and what is the single crystalline nature of the sample? In single crystalline nature of the sample, there is an order arrangement of the atoms. For example, बहुत easy example कैसे tiles है इस room में, तो ये क्या है tiles? They have order arrangement. So this type of the arrangement is called single crystalline. But what is the polycrystalline nature of the sample? Polycrystalline means, for example, if we have this piece of material like इस पर टच वो लगा डिटेक्टर है उधर, हाँ IDS का डिटेक्टर वही चल रहा बस नहीं उसको. तो if we have polycrystalline sample, so what will happen in the, बता सकता हूँ कि क्या होता है polycrystalline nature? In single piece of material we have different regions in which orientation or arrangement of the atoms are different. For example, in this room, just to understand what we can say that in this room, the one region has different order arrangement of the sample. In the other section of this room, we have different order arrangement of the atoms. In the other region, we have other arrangement of the atoms. So this is called the polycrystalline of the sample. So using this instrument, we can confirm the particle size as well as whether our sample is the single crystalline, polycrystalline or amorphous. All information can be obtained. Okay. So in this instrument, do you know about the structure of this instrument? The first thing, after preparing the sample, how you can prepare the sample? If you have powdered sample, then it is very easy to prepare the sample. But for biological sample, there are many steps. There are like fixation, because we cannot use moisture sample. We cannot place moisture sample inside the TM. So we have to go through with various steps. But if we have powder sample, generally in chemistry or in physics, we use powder sample. So that powder sample can be placed. So how we can place the powder sample? So first of all, we have to make it. We have to disperse our solution in the sample. Use grid. So first of all, what we have to do? We have to prepare the solution form of our sample just by taking a small quantity of the powder form of the sample, then dissolve in some proper solvent, like just we generally use water because it will not react with the sample. After that, few drop of that solution can be placed on this part. What is the name of this? Grid. This is the copper grid. Okay. And this grid has net type of this structure, and that structure is called the mesh. MESH, mesh. So this grid has around 200 mesh. Sometimes it may have 300 mesh. 300 small squares. So this is the grid. And the price of this grid is around 400 rupees per grid. And we cannot reuse it for other samples. So why the measurement of PM is costly as compared to other method. So after preparing the grid, after placing few drops of our solution on this grid, we have to dry it for half an hour or sometime for 1 hour. And then we have to fix this grid in this sample holder. This is called sample holder for TM. Okay. So you can see a grid in this sample. Where is the grid? Grid can you can see at the top of this very small size, 3 millimeter diameter grid you can see here. Okay. So we have to fix this grid using these two screws. Okay. After that, what we have to do? After that, we have to insert this sample holder inside the TM or this machine. Okay. And if we feel that the vacuum and other parameters are good as per our requirement of the measurement, then we can perform the measurement. What are the main different parts of this TM? The first part is the source, which is the electron gun, electron source, and the electron source are of different types, starting from the thermionic based electron, and the second one is the field emission based electron. That means emission of electrons can take place just by heating the filament. That is called thermionic based emission. And the material used for this purpose, like tungsten or LaB6, lanthanum hexabromide. In this instrument, we have Lab6. Okay. And just to emit the electron from that, for tungsten, for example, we have to heat it at very high temperature, like 207 or 2700 degree or 2800 Kelvin. So we have to heat that tungsten piece up to that temperature just to emit the electron. Okay. But nowadays what we have other type of the electron source, field emission electron source, that based on the electric field. So just by applying the high value of the electric field, electrons can be come out. Even at room temperature, electron can be emit from the filament. Okay. So, but in this particular machine, in the TEM, what we have convectional TM in which we have left 6 and there are different characteristics of the each source. After that, what we have some lenses which are electromagnetic lenses. So in our starting from the 9th class, we have studied about different type of the optical lenses. In optical lenses, what we know different things like focal length. If you want to change the focal length of a lens, what you can do? In optical lenses, you have to replace the lens. अगर आपको focal length change करनी है तो क्या करना पड़ता है? Replace the lens. But in this case, what we have the electromagnetic lenses. Just by changing the amount of current, we can change the focal length of the lens. This is the advantage of the using the electromagnetic lenses. Okay. Then, to the first thing, electron will be emitted from the source, electron gun, and they will pass through the electromagnetic lenses, which can focus the electron beam on the sample. So after placing the sample on this sample holder, we have to insert it from this part. Okay, this part, and the position of the grid will come at the center of the column of this machine. Then electron beam will pass through the sample, and as I said that thickness is of the order of 100 to 200 nanometer. So electron beam can easily pass through the sample. Okay. Then if sometime what happened, we have different density of the sample. Sometimes we have the less dense sample, we have high dense sample. So for that purpose, we have to use different aperture. So this is the electron gun, then we have the condenser lens, then we have the condenser aperture. Aperture basically is just like a, what are the aperture? Apertures are the holes in a plate. If we have the circular plate and we can make different sizes holes, so that holes are called the aperture. So according to the nature of this sample, we have to use different aperture. So this is called the condenser aperture. After that, what we have? Electron beam interact with the sample. So in some other TM, we can also know the elemental analysis. Okay, what are the different elements present in the sample? So there are other type of detectors are also attached with the TM, which is called the, उसको क्या कहेंगे? वो वाले डिटेक्टर्स कौन से होते हैं? जैसे आप SEM में करते हैं, EDS, EDS का नाम सुना? जैसे SEM में करते हैं, एनर्जी डिस्पर्सिव एक्स-रे स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी. So that can, how it works? Basically, when electron beam interact with the sample, it transmit, or basically the different type of the X-ray signal will be produced, and that detector will detect the X-rays. ठीक है? And based on the energy of that X-rays, that can quantify or that can identify different elements present in the sample. This is the additional information can be come out from the measurement in addition to the shape and size of the nanoparticle. ठीक है? So after that, what happened? We have other type of aperture, which is called the objective aperture. Then we have the objective lens. These all are the electromagnetic lenses, but names are different. So the objective lens, then we have the intermediate lenses, then we have projector lens, and finally the image can be formed on this plate, zinc sulfide. And if we feel that our image, as per our requirement, what we want to see in the sample, if we feel that by using this binocular we can tune, we can see different region of the grid. If some region is not proper, then we can also search other region on the same grid, or sometime we have to replace the grid. So if we feel that our sample quality or as per our requirement, then we can lift this plate and the image can directly form on the camera, CCD camera, charge coupled device camera. Okay? And that can be image can be captured on the screen like this. Okay? So these are the few examples. I will go like just yes. This is the carbon nanotubes. We can see the carbon nanotube. आपने किसी ने किया टीम मेजरमेंट? SEM किया किसी ने? नहीं किया? नहीं किया अभी? अच्छा, तो जब भी कराएं तो एक चीज़ बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्या होती है, विदाउट दिस स्केल, एक स्केल होती है, एक लाइन होती है, तो विदाउट दिस स्केल दिस इमेज इज़ यूजलेस। कभी कभी देखा हमने क्या कहीं से और से कराती, बट दिस स्केल इज नॉट प्रोवाइडेड। तो बिकॉज इट कैन कंपेयर, यू हैव टू कंपेयर दिस ब्लैक लाइन लेंथ with the structure of the with the different shape of the image, है ना? So if we compare this black line with the diameter of this tube, it is around of the same size, है ना? So diameter of this tube can be 20 nanometer, near about that, है ना? But length could be like 300 nanometer, because this size is 20 nanometer, 20 like that. So you have to compare dimension of the particles in the image according to the scale given. ठीक है? So similarly we have some other porous type of the particles, nanoparticles, in which we can see different type of the pores. Yeah? These are the size of the particles quite large, but it is the porous type of material in which there are different pores we can see. This is the image. This image is called the selected area electron diffraction image. SAD image जो कहलाता है, in short it is called the SAD, SAED, selected area electron diffraction image. Just like X-ray diffraction, this is the electron diffraction, है ना? तो using this image we can confirm whether our material amorphous, polycrystalline or single crystalline. If we have single crystalline material, then these spots are very bright and very orderly arrangement. ठीक है? If we have this type, exactly this type of structure, this type, है ना? In which we have some bright dots along with the some bright rings that indicate polycrystalline nature of the sample. If we have amorphous type of material or amorphous nature of the material, synthesized material that has diffuse ring, है ना? So that indicate crystallinity of the sample. This is the bacteria, this is the biological samples, and this is the graphene. As I said, this is the, आपने पढ़े होंगे ना, बहुत सारे लेक्चर पढ़े होंगे ग्रेफीन वाले। ग्रेफीन क्या है? व्हाट इज ग्रेफीन? सिंगल वन एटॉमिक थिक लेयर ऑफ द कार्बन आइटम इज कॉल्ड द ग्रेफीन। तो ग्रेफीन इज क्या है कि बेसिकली इट इज़ द वन लेयर फ्रॉम द ग्रेफाइट। ग्रेफाइट पीस ले लें और उसकी एक लेयर, अब कितनी थिक होनी चाहिए? 1 एटॉमिक थिक, और थिकनेस का डायमीटर कार्बन आइटम। तो दिस इज कॉल्ड द single layer graphene. Sometime we have bilayer graphene, sometime we have multi-layer graphene. That depends on the synthesis rule. तो we can easily, और एक additional चीज़ देखिए इस measurement में क्या है? It gives you direct evidence of the nanoparticles. Other methods like X-ray diffraction or some other method that gives you indirect method. जैसे example क्या है कि अगर हम आपको कोई characteristics बताएं कि I saw an animal which has 2 legs, 2 ears, 2 nose, 2 legs, so you can make a diagram, and it could be anything, it could be dog, it could be horse, like that. But if I will show you direct photograph of some animal, then you can 100% sure this is horse. So this is the direct evidence of the particles. Other methods are the indirect methods. This is direct photograph of that object. So this is the graphene sheet, and in addition to that we can also know the interplanar spacing. इंटरप्लेन यानी दो प्लेन की जो डिस्टेंस है वो भी पता कर सकते हैं इस पर, जो आप सिर्फ थियरी में पढ़ते थे, पता नहीं whether it is exists or not, but you can directly see this thing that we have the plane and the plane are separated by some distance of the order of angstrom, है ना? And these are some biological samples. This is the cell and mitochondria, like this. This is the biological cells. These are the nanoparticles of, I think, zinc oxide, and this is the gold nanoparticles of very uniform. देखिए ये है, this is image basically all particles are distinguishable, है ना? Sometime when 2 or 3 particles combine together and form agglomeration form. So if our materials are magnetic in nature or some magnetic interactions are taking place between them, that form can be obtained. Or the other thing, during preparation of the grade, it might happen you have placed large amount of sample. So in that case, the agglomeration can also be seen in the image. ठीक है? So we can also calculate the diameter of the kitna hai? 20?
6.7.
26. So in this way, the average particle size can be calculated using, and this is the nanoparticle embedded graphene sheet. And the graphene sheet, and we have nanoparticles. So in this way, this is brief about the TM. If you have any query or question, you can ask. आया कुछ समझ में? थोड़ा थोड़ा, ये तो बहुत ही कम है. This is just superficial knowledge of
has a less energy or more wavelength in comparison to UV. इसीलिए UV spectroscopy में there is electronic transitions. There is a electronic transitions, but in case of Raman and IR, there is a vibrational transitions which are between the electronic transitions. है ना, ground state to excited state हमारा electronic transition, उसके बीच में vibration bands होते हैं in which when we apply the source, so it just move the molecule just move from one place to another place. जैसे आपने पढ़ा कि symmetrical bending, asymmetric stretching, knocking, तो ये क्या है, वो अपनी place को नहीं छोड़ा है, बस वो move कर रहा है. In case of the Raman and IR, तो basically Raman is basically on the concept of the scattering concept. कैसे, जैसे कि for example you have a molecule. For example you have a molecule. So you give a source, laser source. इसमें जैसे हम लोग यूज़ करते हैं गालिबन क्रिप्टन सोर्स यूज़ करते हैं इसमें, ऐसे कुछ है, चाहे इसमें यट्रियम आपका सोर्स क्या है इसमें? लेजर सोर्स है, उसके अलग अलग सोर्सेज होते हैं अलग अलग नैनोमीटर्स पे. तो व्हेन यू पुट द सोर्स ऑन द मॉलिक्यूल, देन देयर इज अ टू टाइप ऑफ स्कैटरिंग. वन इज द रेले स्कैटरिंग व्हिच इज द इलास्टिक स्कैटरिंग. जितनी एनर्जी गेन हुई सेम एनर्जी लॉस होगी. एंड आफ्टर दैट देयर अनदर इज द रमन स्कैटरिंग इन व्हिच there is a Stokes and anti-Stokes line. In the Stokes line there is a decrease in the energy. H nu जो है, अगर आप उसको H nu आपने डाला तो H nu minus delta nu minus आएगा in case of the Stokes. What is the meaning of this? This meaning is that there is a decrease in the energy. And in the case of the anti-Stokes, there is H nu plus delta nu. Means that there is an increase in the energy. So for example, if I ask you make a table, for example for the Rayleigh scattering for Raman, for Stokes, anti-Stokes and Rayleigh scattering, तो सबसे ज़्यादा एनर्जी किसकी होगी? एंटी-स्टोक्स की होगी, फिर Rayleigh की होगी, then after Stokes. So basically on that concept your Raman is works. अच्छा, why it is different from the IR? क्यों IR से different है? Because the IR range कितना है? 700 नैनोमीटर तक काम करता है. तो उसके बाद जो है it is very difficult to give the tell about the nature of the molecule. मुश्किल है. Then after क्या होता है कि इसके बाद जो है, जैसे for example हमें 1100 per centimeter wave number काम करना है, if you want to work on the 1400 nanometers पे, on that basis Raman becomes successful. IR वहाँ limit कर जाता है. बात समझ में आ रही है? And this basically why? Because Raman spectroscopy works on the polarizability of the molecule. ठीक है? IR works on the dipole moment. Those symmetrical molecules are IR inactive but Raman active because they are polarizable. And asymmetric molecules, for example, for example we take a molecule of HCl. So there is asymmetric. So in that case this is IR active but Raman inactive because there is a polarization in this. बात समझ में आ रही है? तो ये in that concepts the Raman works. So important thing is that it is basically works on the Stokes and anti-Stokes line. Stokes line are those line which has more intense because it works from the lower ground state to the higher ground state. And anti-Stokes line works on the n is equal to 1 to infinity, then it comes into the ground state. Therefore anti-Stokes line the more energy bands and Stokes line at the less energy. Therefore it is more intense. Stokes line are more intense. On that basis we can give the D and G bands जो आप लोगों ने डाउसन ने आपको बताया था, D and G bands. For example, if अगर इसमें होते कोई एग्जांपल तो बताइएगा, कोई जैसे ग्राफीन का कोई है आपके पास?
ग्राफीन का नहीं, अभी कोई और सैंपल है
वैसे कोई स्टोर वो हो, बस फिर आप समझा दीजिएगा इनको. आपको समझ में आया ना क्या कॉन्सेप्ट थोड़ा सा है? So ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, आप बिल्कुल याद रखिएगा. Raman is working on the scattering phenomena and अच्छा इसका वो नहीं है. हाँ यहाँ देखिए ये किसका एग्जांपल है? ये किसका है? अच्छा चलिए अभी ऐसे समझ लेते हैं इसको. देखिए अब फॉर एग्जांपल ये जो दिस इज अ प्रोमिनेंट पीक and this peak is around 1300 per centimeter Raman shift. Raman shift is basically delta nu. And अभी हम डिस्कस किया था ना, the h nu which is the energy which is focused on the molecule and the scattering. In case of the Raman, in case of the Stokes line, this is h nu minus delta nu. So this basically delta nu is Raman shift, which is shift on the basis of the h nu. So in the case of this sample, this is around I think ये मुझे लग रहा है 1300 के अराउंड है, 1350. तो this band represents the G band. This represents the G band for the planar structure. For example, if we take graphite. Graphite में क्या है, आपने दूसरे डिस्कस कर रहे थे हटाओ सर, कि there is no surface modification, there is no basal planes. तो क्या होगा, there is no defects present. तो in that case G band is very prominent. But when we convert this graphite into graphene, means we extrapolation perform, then there is a formation of the defects on the basal planes. For example, there is a surface modification through carboxylic groups आ गए उसमें. तो क्या होगा, there is another band is developed at around 1100, which is the D band, and this D band represents the defect band. And then further you make a graphene oxide. Then after you reduce this graphene oxide, what is the meaning of the reduced graphene oxide? For example, you convert the COH group into another functional group, like you convert into the amide group, you convert into ether group. So there you do the reduction. In that case, D band is more prominent because there is more defect. In that case, अगर मैं आपसे कहूँ, for example, अगर एक आपको वो दिया जाए रमन का स्पेक्ट्रा, for example एक ग्राफीन ऑक्साइड का दिया जाए, उसमें IT एक इंटेंसिटी ऑफ द डेंसिटी ऑफ द डिफेक्ट बैंड D बैंड एंड इंटेंसिटी ऑफ द G बैंड एक दिया जाए RGO का, रिड्यूस्ड ग्राफीन ऑक्साइड. इन दैट केस देयर इज ID एंड IG. तो किस में रेशो ज़्यादा होगा ID by IG का? डेफिनेटली इन RGO, because more defects are present in the RGO because there is more defect due to the basal planes. तो ये एक थोड़ा सा बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट है रमन का. तो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट याद रखना है कि इट वर्क्स ऑन द पोलराइजेबिलिटी and on the scattering basis, and IR is basically works on the absorption. ठीक है, चलिए अब थोड़ा सा बता दीजिए.
इसमें जो है मोनोक्रोमेटिक लाइट या लेज़र हम लोग यूज़ करेंगे, वो हमारे पास 532 लेज़र होती है या और 785 और डिफरेंट टाइप के, मतलब जो इंस्ट्रूमेंटेशन है डिफरेंट कंपनीज अपने अलग अलग लेज़र यूज़ करती हैं. जैसे 680 यूज़ करती हैं, तो हमारे पास रेनिशा का है ये, तो 532 लेज़र ये है और एक 785 लेज़र है. वो लेज़र जो है ये स्पेसिमेन चैम्बर है. यहाँ पर इस स्पेसिमेन चैम्बर में हम लोग स्लाइड पे ये पाउडर सैंपल है कोई, ये हम लोग इसके ऊपर प्लेस करते हैं. जैसे ये सैंपल था, इसके बाद में जैसे इस पाउडर की हाइट को हम यूनिफॉर्म बनाने के लिए हम इसे प्रेस करेंगे ताकि इसकी हाइट जो है यूनिफॉर्म रहे. सैंपल हम पाउडर सैंपल ले सकते हैं या कोई फिल्म है उसका भी. रमन जो है वो बायोलॉजिकल सैंपल्स मतलब किसी चीज़ का भी हो सकता है, बशर्ते बस वो रमन एक्टिव होना चाहिए मटेरियल. वो लेज़र लाइट जो लाइट है वो इन लेंस के थ्रू सैंपल पे स्कैटर करती है. उसके बाद में वो डिटेक्टर, इधर डिटेक्टर्स हैं, उस ग्राफ को डिटेक्ट करता है डिटेक्टर, CCD डिटेक्टर, और उसके सिग्नल को कन्वर्ट करके कंप्यूटर में हमें ये डेटा देता है. अभी इसमें वायर यूज़ हुआ है. डिफरेंट कंपनीज जो हैं वो अपने सॉफ्टवेयर बनाती हैं मशीन के अकॉर्डिंग. जैसे ये हम कमांड देंगे स्पेक्ट्रल एक्विजिशन, तो अब ये क्या है कि कोई भी सैंपल है तो हमें स्पेक्ट्रम की रेंज चूज़ करनी रहती है कि 100 से 2000 लेनी है. डिपेंड करता है कि हमारे जैसे मान लीजिए कोई ग्राफीन का सैंपल है, उसका 532 के समथिंग अगर कोई पीक आनी है, या कोई और सैंपल है 785 के आसपास पीक आनी है, तो वो उसी के अकॉर्डिंग हम उसका जो रेंज है वो चूज़ करेंगे. उसके अकॉर्डिंग फिर कितने टाइम के लिए उसे एक्सपोज करना है, इस मतलब लाइट स्कैटर करवानी है, तो वो एक्सपोजर टाइम यहाँ पे दिया होता है 10 सेकेंड्स हम रखते हैं, ये 15 सेकेंड. उसके बाद लेज़र पावर डिपेंड करता है सैंपल के ऊपर। कोई बायोलॉजिकल सैंपल्स है तो पावर हमें कम यूज़ करनी रहती है, कोई मेटल सैंपल है तो हम लेज़र पावर को ज़्यादा यूज़ कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि इसके अकॉर्डिंग ही हमारी इंटेंसिटी हमें पता चलती है। अगर ज़्यादा इंटेंसिटी आएगी तो सैंपल सैचुरेट हो जाता है, तब फिर डेटा आएगा नहीं इसमें। जैसे ये ऊपर माइक्रोस्कोपिक लगे हुए लेंस तो आप चेंज कर सकते हैं। जैसे ये 50x है, अभी आप 5x ले सकते हैं, 20x ले सकते हैं और 10x 100x है इसमें। यहाँ से हम सैंपल फोकस करते हैं और उसके बाद हम सैंपल रन कर सकते हैं। इस टाइप से इस टाइप से रन होगा। अब ये कोई डेटा नहीं है, नॉइज आ रहा है, सब नॉइज पीक्स है। जैसे कि ये पीक आई है, इस टाइप से डेटा। ठीक है, कोई क्वेश्चन हो तो पूछिए, बाकी तो सर ने क्लियर कर ही दिया।
ये सारे D-bands हैं।
वो डिपेंड करता है कि मतलब जैसे अभी डेटा जो है ना, वो सैंपल टू सैंपल हमें मतलब उसकी इंटेंसिटी के अकॉर्डिंग आपको चूज़ करना रहता है कि डी बैंड है कि क्या है। अब ये सैंपल हमें पता नहीं है कि कौन सा है, ये कोई अननोन सैंपल है, तो वो पीक कहाँ पे आ रही है उसका। जैसे कि मेरे ख्याल 700 के समथिंग है ना, तो अब इस सैंपल का डी बैंड कहाँ पे होगा वो ठीक है।
लिक्विड सैंपल का भी? लिक्विड
हाँ, लिक्विड सैंपल आप कर सकते हैं। उसके लिए जैसे अभी हमने ग्लास स्लाइड पे पाउडर सैंपल रखा है, थिन फिल्म होगी तब वो हम एज इट इज़ ऐसे ही रख सकते हैं, लेकिन लिक्विड सैंपल है तो उसके लिए मतलब दूसरी स्लाइड हमें यूज़ करनी रहती है। उसके लिए स्पेसिफिक एक स्लाइड आती है, उसमें हम लिक्विड सैंपल को ड्रॉप फॉर्म में डालते हैं, मतलब 20 माइक्रोलीटर या 30 माइक्रोलीटर। उसके बाद सेम प्रोसीजर से सैंपल रन करते हैं।
कंपाउंड है उसको 3 डायमेंशनल स्ट्रक्चर इसमें बना के देता है। इसलिए जो इसमें होने की पहली कंडीशन है कि आपका सैंपल जो है वो क्रिस्टलाइन फॉर्म में होना चाहिए। ठीक है, अगर वो क्रिस्टलाइन फॉर्म में नहीं है तो इस पर वो बात नहीं करना चाहिए। ठीक है, डिफ्लेक्शन तभी होगा जब वो क्रिस्टलाइन फॉर्म में हो। अगर आपका क्रिस्टल अच्छे से बना हुआ है तो हम इस पर तभी वो डिफ्लेक्ट होगा। ऊपर आप स्क्रीन पे देख रहे होंगे, ये जो स्क्रीन पे है ये आपका क्या है, क्रिस्टल। ये क्रिस्टल यहाँ पे बहुत बड़ा नज़र आ रहा है, ये एक्चुअली 0.2 mm का है। इसका जो साइज़ रहता है 0.1 mm से 0.2 mm का, या फिर कुछ नीडल शेप के रहते हैं वो 0.1 से भी छोटे होते हैं क्रिस्टल। ये सेंटर होल्डर है जो एक उसमें आपको वो नज़र आ रहा था लूप, उस लूप के ऊपर हमें माउंट करना है। आप इसमें देख रहे हैं क्रिस्टल जो एक ऊपर टिप पे शाइन कर रहा होगा पार्ट, ये क्रिस्टल है जो आपको उसमें नज़र आ रहा है। तो क्रिस्टल को माउंट करने के लिए हमें क्या यूज़ करना है, पहले माइक्रोस्कोप भी देखेंगे क्योंकि हम नेकेड आई से उसको माउंट नहीं कर सकते। ठीक है, तो उस पर माइक्रोस्कोप के ज़रिए इस पर हमें टिप पे उसको पिक करना है। ठीक है, और जब हम देखेंगे कि सही से पिक हो गया है जिस पूरा जो पार्ट कहलाता है ये वॉल्यूमीटर है। चल के वही आगे चलिए, अगर वो डिफरेंट एंगल से लेगा, अगर एक भी एंगल से वो सेंटर में नहीं हुआ तो वो आपका डेटा नहीं बनेगा। ये अभी 0 का है, 90 डिग्री पे देखेंगे ये सेंटर में है या नहीं है, अगर सेंटर में नहीं है तो उसको सेंटर में लेंगे। देखिए थोड़ा सा ये आउट होता है। हमें क्या देखना है इसमें, हमें क्रिस्टल देखना है, क्रिस्टल सेंटर पर होना चाहिए। देखिए ये जो पार्ट है ये एक्सरे सोर्सेस, एक्सरे जब हम इसका वोल्टेज ऑन कर देंगे तो वोल्टेज ऑन करने के बाद जब एक्सरे ऑन करेंगे तो इसमें से एक्सरे निकलेंगे और जो सैंपल जो हमने क्रिस्टल माउंट कर रखा है क्रिस्टल पे टकराएंगे, ठीक है, उससे रिफ्लेक्शन होगा, ये इसका डिटेक्ट करें, उसको डिटेक्ट करके वो हमें इस इमेज के फॉर्म में हमें स्क्रीन पे देंगे। और ये जो पार्ट है ये इसका लिक्विड नाइट्रोजन लो टेम्परेचर। कुछ क्रिस्टल्स ऐसे होते हैं जो स्टेबलाइज नहीं होते सही से, मतलब थोड़ा टेम्परेचर बढ़ने के बाद उनके पोजीशन चेंज हो सकती है, तो क्या करेंगे उसको करा जाता है फिर लो टेम्परेचर पर करने के लिए हमें लिक्विड नाइट्रोजन का यूज़ करेंगे। और जो लो टेम्परेचर रहता है वो रहता है 100 के उससे लिक्विड नाइट्रोजन निकलेगी और वो लिक्विड नाइट्रोजन जो है सेल्सियस नहीं हाँ वो होता है ना, लेकिन उसको हमें जो लेके जाना है वो 100 के तक लेके जाना है, उससे नीचे नहीं, क्योंकि जा सकता है वो नीचे लेकिन हमें 100 के तक। जो लो टेम्परेचर पे जो एक स्टैंडर्ड जो रहता है ना टेम्परेचर वो 100 के तक, वो लिक्विड नाइट्रोजन का हो गया। हाँ हाँ नहीं वो लिक्विड नाइट्रोजन का हो गया, जो इस पर हमें जो रखना है टेम्परेचर, क्योंकि अगर ज़्यादा वो हो गया उस पर क्या होगा आइस जम जाएगी, आइस जमेगी तो वो डिफ्रैक्शन में प्रॉब्लम होगी। जब हमारे यहाँ से पूरा काम हो जाएगा हमें एग्जिट कर देंगे, फिर स्क्रीनिंग करेंगे और स्क्रीनिंग से हमें पता चल जाएगा जो सैंपल है वो क्रिस्टलाइन बना है नहीं बना, जो हमने कंपाउंड बनाना चाह रहा था वो बन भी रहा है या नहीं। जब वो स्क्रीनिंग होगी तो हमें इस तरह का स्ट्रक्चर नजर आएगा। मैं अब पॉज कर दीजिएगा इसको, क्योंकि अब जो ये डेटा है किसी और का, मैं इसको स्क्रीन नहीं दे सकता। हाँ ये स्क्रीन मत दिखाना। ये सबसे प्योर टेक्निक है, इसमें कोई भी स्टूडेंट कोई भी कुछ हेरफेर नहीं कर सकता, जो है रियल में वही आए, सबसे बड़ी और सबसे प्योर टेक्निक। स्ट्रक्चर इस तरह का बन के आएगा, ये 3D, इसका फोटो मत लीजिए, ये किसी और का डेटा है, हो सकता है ये अभी रिकॉर्डेड ना हो। ये जो आपको ग्रीन कलर का दिख रहा है ये मेटल है PR, और ये ब्लू कलर का है ये नाइट्रोजन है, और ये ग्रे कलर का ये कार्बन है और ये हाइड्रोजन। ठीक है, ये क्या है मॉफ